StarRupture is a game I have been keeping my eye on here for, I'm going to go on maybe a year and a half or so. It was announced with just a quick tease, and then about 4 or 5 months ago, a gameplay demo, like a short gameplay demo came out. And then just earlier today, like just earlier this morning, this is May 27th, here 2025, they released this video, about 12 minutes of co-op gameplay, and it is chock full. There is so much here that we can pick apart. So what we're going to do here, and I haven't really done one of these before, we're going to go through and watch parts of this. I'm going to be, pausing and unpausing as we go, and I'm going to leave the audio on just barely. And I'm going to leave the captions on as well so people can see. But right off the bat here, oh my God. So we get to see a chunk of the map. There is a few spots that they're gonna go around to and show. But right off the bat here, we come out of a building and we see all of these rail lines. We're going to talk about these more after he has the person sets up more production, but there's so much going on with these production lines.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
To our new and expanded look at StarRupture in our
All right, up here. So we get to see the extractors, the resource extractors up here. They have single outputs as far as I can see. And they're just sitting on top of these resource deposits. Now, one thing I don't know about StarRupture is whether or not resources like in Satisfactory are infinite, or like in Factorio, where they're visibly limited. And as you extract resources from the planet, they slowly diminish. I don't know that yet. And I'm very curious to find out whether or not that's a thing. However, this is our first real look at how those resource extractors run.
co-op gameplay showcase. StarRupture at its core.
I am curious if we're gonna. What are these buildings on the right? Because I see an out. I see something here. There's an in or an out on the side that we can see, but I don't actually know what they're doing.
In our
Turn back. Go just a touch forward. Because clearly in the middle of them, they have these objects. They're spinning around these objects, and sometimes they glow. But what are they doing? That's what I want. I want to know that. I really want to know that.
StarRupture at its core is a co-op base builder.
All right, so on the top right here, you can see more of those resource extractors, and yay, woohoo! I love this up close detail. I am curious how placement for these is going to go, because it looks like, unlike with Satisfactory, they're not actually the resource deposits aren't consistently shaped or positioned. So if we finagle them a little bit, are we able to position more resource extractors on these deposits as we go about? Or is it still set, you can only place one resource extractor here at a set position, kind of like it is in Satisfactory? So that's something I'm going to be very curious about going forward.
Let's kick off the presentation with our main base, the kind you will be able to control
Seamless co-op.
bodies.
I will also point out on the right-hand side, on the left-hand side, lower left-hand corner, you have the character portraits. You have one for the current player that's selected, and then under that person's portrait that we're facing, it says soldier. Now, one thing I don't know a ton about is how, character creation or characters are thrown into the game, but it looks like there's some kind of class system involved, where there may be certain skill sets that some classes are better at than others, or there's some kind of passive bonuses or abilities or locked things. But either way, this almost categorization could indicate a deeper level of character building for StarRupture. Good model work too. And he's off. Later, nerd. More visibility on these structures in front of us and what they're doing. It looks like they are building or packaging something, and I don't see their outputs. Here
you can see the entire ecosystem of our base.
So what we're going to be walking by here shortly on the left are solar panels. Clearly one of the ways that you generate power in StarRupture is through these solar panels, and you actually later on will see the player character building more of them with a really nifty system.
First, raw ore is transported from the extractors up the...
So I'm about to echo what the person who is actually doing this walkthrough is about to say, but smelters here on the left and right as he's walking forward. You can clearly see on the belts as well the raw titanium being carried to their designated spots that they need to be at. I love this visual representation going on. Obviously, one of the big things with Satisfactory was the tactile nature of the game and how amazing it was. And it feels like StarRupture realized that and was like, okay, how can we make sure to hold on to that while also building in the genre, which is a fantastic idea. This is amazingly well done. So letting him continue here.
the hill via our smart drone network. Down here, you can see how the factory works. Our smelters melt titanium ore into titanium.
Now, unfortunately, they're not showing the outputs of the smelters there. They're only showing how they're moving from the smelters to these big like box structures on the left and right. I'm assuming that's storage in some capacity. And then we're going to see him moving on here to where that processed material is being used to craft things in these very similar looking, if not the exact same, structures we saw from earlier with the big boxes in the middle and that teal glow. So most likely those structures previously were crafting something, we just couldn't see what it was. But these are the ways that you make products.
It's so satisfying to see the whole process in action.
Assemblers. Okay, these are just called assemblers.
Getting started. Let's jump to our second player who's working.
All right. Second player jump. I'm going to point out a couple of things here. First off, the solar panels on the left look chunkier. Those look bigger than the ones we saw earlier. I don't know if that's actually true or not, but it does kind of feel like it. So that maybe there's like an upgraded version of them in some capacity. Next, the structures we see in front of us, they never really talk about them or what they are at all, but I'm very curious as to what they're doing. I think they mention a resource here, so I'm just going to...
At a smaller outpost. This one's for
Wolfram. All right, so maybe these are associated with a resource called Wolfram in some way. I do see... I don't see any like resource extractors here. I was trying to see if those ones off in the distance near the arch, the red arch there, are doing something. And it looks like there is a belt system going around there, but I'm not sure exactly what's going on. We do see some other different structures up in the hills underneath that shield barrier. I believe it's called a core, and they're going to actually talk about that here in a minute. But there's some structures here I don't know what they do. And it makes me very curious about what's going on. Lastly, before I unpause here, that big red arch off in the distance, kind of like south center of the screen, I want to know what that is, because that kind of color isn't used unless something is kind of important. So whatever is going on there with that arch or what it's covered in, you'll see later on in the video that there are things in the environment that are harmful that can cause damage, but also can be gathered. And there's a lot of exotic resources in the world. So, what is that orange arch?
Focus on wolfram extraction. As you can
Now, up here, we get to see that like a very early but clear look of the star that is associated with StarRupture and kind of why the game is called StarRupture. As you can see, it looks a little volatile. And they talk about this here in a minute. But in short, that thing goes supernova every so often and gets a little destructive on the planet. And I think it's why a lot of the planet looks as barren as it does. So keep that in mind.
see the real target here isn't wolfram at all. It's
We're going to see some combat here.
gas. Looks like we've got
I will also, before combat gets into it, bottom left-hand corner, the character portraits are switched because we're now looking at the other person's perspective. They're in the same party, though, and the other person who is in group, the one we started with, is a scientist. So again, I'm very curious what that's going on about. Also, we have in the bottom right-hand corner not just the weapons heads-up display, but a couple abilities. So H, it looks like, is for healing of some kind, and G has an explosive icon, which I can only assume is grenade. Also, middle mouse wheel at the very bottom right, change. I assume that is your weapon swap, so you roll the mouse wheel and you change weapons.
goodbye.
Good audio, good weapon audio, good thematic, I will say, iron sight there. Also, colors are very consistent. Teal is good. Teal is very good. Orange is, oh, that's not good, whether you're out of ammo or whatnot.
But here's the catch. The player can't collect that resource. Not yet.
All right, so we see a couple things here. So we saw after the swap back and the narrator saying, okay, so here's where the co-op stuff comes into play a little bit. I don't actually think the co-op is required from what I've seen. It's just co-op makes your life easier and it's more fun to play with friends. But it does feel like this game can be played fully solo. So I know this is like a co-op gameplay video. I don't think co-op is required, but co-op makes things more fun. And because of a possible class system, okay, maybe there's good reasons to have different classes playing together. Now, what we're seeing right now is some kind of launch system. This stuff is launching stuff up into space in some capacity. Why? We haven't actually gotten to yet, but needless to say, these are delivering like little products that are loading into these launch systems and then being launched into space.
That's where teamwork comes in.
I love the shot of that shield, that base core that they're going to talk about here. All right, so we got a lot going on here. Corpo Terminal and these other machines that are around here. Let's go back. I want to see that. I want to see the names of these. All right, so we have Future Health Solutions, Selenian Corporation, Moon Energy Corporation, Griffith Blue Corporation, and Clever Robotics. And this is in a tab called Corporation Status. Now, there's other tabs here at the left. And it looks like there's a tab for each corporation. So, my guess is, based on current recipe or reputation level in some way, or the amount of debt you've repaid, your reputation with these grows, you get new technologies, but then you have to send more. And it's always going to be more.
Our first players puts away.
All right, so we have a look at the tab for Selenian Corporation, and it's just pretty much exactly that, where you can claim new technologies. Now, the helium-3 extractor is what they're looking for, and they're going to go for that by sending up titanium rods.
Way to unlock that ability right from the corporate terminal in the Habitat module.
Whoa, no, go back. Nope, wrong direction.
Right from the corporate terminal in the
I want to see what that terminal said. Analyzing station. Okay, so assumption would be we put things in it, and the machine tells us parts of it, or we get science points, or who knows what from this. Also, on the side of the machine, and on the console there, Moon Energy. I'm not sure what the significance of that is.
The fun thing about our habitats is that you can arrange them and
This is one thing I'm excited for, by the way, what he's talking about right now, where it's the habitats are very modular and you can put them together in your own way. A little more discrete base building is going to be a lot of fun, I think. And that's going to also enter into something I talk about here a little bit later when we see curved building structures, and that was a good moment.
airlocks, windows, and additional functional units however you like.
Love it.
Turns out one of the
Okay, so orbital cargo launcher set to on at standby. You can select what corporation you are sending the goods to. Nifty.
corporations our prisoner engineers work for in exchange for clearing their debts.
There was a lot there.
The schematic for the hidden
All right, so we get to see the building screen. Now, one thing that is going to be very, 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 very different is it only looks like you have a very certain specific kind of building resources. So right now you have some kind of orange coin, orange stacked coin that you're using for pretty much everything. And then you have this teal stacked coin that he doesn't have any of that is used for something. And then this kind of red and gray orb as a resource type that he doesn't have any of that's used for something. Also, it looks like there are many, many, many tabs on the left that are going to have lots of different building options in them. Obviously, the little shredder icon at the top there, that's probably like harvesting. The little factory icon is probably manufacturing in some capacity. I think the little one in the very middle with the shapes pointing different directions, that might be vehicles or transportation of some capacity. That also could be the one at the bottom with all the arrows pointing different directions. We'll see.
becomes available.
All right, so yeah, that's production or manufacturing of some kind. We see the solar generator, the smelter, and the fabricator here.
Once you reach level 3rd in Selenium Corp. Let's go get it. Right now we need a new production line for titanium rods. Placing too many machines.
I love that everything goes red. However, what I'm concerned about, and this actually I don't love, is the moment these are placed down without actually doing anything, without having any kind of material input or use, it's already pulling power. I don't love that because, and this is maybe having played so much Satisfactory or Factorio, things don't normally consume power unless they're being used. So seeing that they start sucking up power right off the bat, I don't love that. But maybe that's also, there is a certain amount of idle power they take, and then they actually use up their full power load on the grid when you actually like input into them. I'm not sure exactly what's going on there. So maybe they're already somehow receiving resources, but the belts haven't been connected yet, so I'm not sure how that happens. Anywho, I'll let him continue.
It's overpowered our power grid.
So we get to see the actual like placement, and this This blew my goddamn mind. You have a drone that when you are placing things, you can just launch into the mother air and place things. When I first saw this, I'm so glad that Ash isn't here, our cat rather, isn't here right now, because the noises I made. When I first saw this, the noise that I made was not human. This is going to be a game, not just a game changing, a game industry changing feature for this genre. This is a genre defining feature that any game in the factory building franchise, or genre again, I should say, is going to have. This is a new required feature. This is one of the best thoughts these devs have had. This is absolutely mind-blowingly awesome. And as you can see here, as you will be able to see, you can like micro adjust the height, the direction. There's a lot you can do here.
Solar panels, and of course other buildings as well. From a more comfortable.
It's so good. It's so good. Now, as you can see with these solar panels, these are those basic solar panels we walked by earlier. These are smaller than the ones we saw at the Wolfram and the Helium-3 area. So I'm very curious if those are like advanced solar panels in some capacity, if they're upgraded versions, or how that works. Because these only have 2, and those had like 6 leaves. Or 4. Maybe it was 4. I don't remember. All right, so this tab is used for transportation. You see junctions, rail support, rail modulators, rail connectors. Oh my god. Walkways. Power flows through the floor network. I'm sorry. No, he just said that. Either through drone rails or platform links. Okay, that's good to know.
Their status is color-coded by lighting, so you always know what's in line. Each building comes with its own crafting recipe list, most of which you will uncover as you play. But here's where it gets really cool.
All right, here's another mind-blowing moment.
Set a recipe or needed resource, and buildings automatically pull inputs from other sources. You can even set priority levels to fine-tune the flow, something advanced players will truly appreciate in the late game.
So as he's continuing to set this up, he's setting up essentially a combiner here for this final launcher. But essentially what he just said was the entire rail system is smart. It isn't just a carry from point A to point B like it is in Satisfactory, and you have to be very meticulous with what's on what belt, which to a certain extent I really love because load balancing. This stuff, these rails are different. They know what needs to go where. That's massive. So you can just have a gigantic, and I hate to say this term, spaghetti of rails, and the drones and the systems on those rails will know where to take what. You do not need to hand direct everything. You can just make sure everything is on the correct direction. As you can kind of see on the left, the upper left-hand side, that rail has a direction. As long as the rails are in the right direction, things can't really, well, I'm actually, I shouldn't say that. It doesn't sound like things can break in the way that they can in Satisfactory or Factorio, where if something can be on the wrong belt. It sounds like that's not possible here, which is huge. That is insane.
Resource drone rails, they're directly
So you're going to see
to you to design junctions and routes for maximum efficiency.
he's going to use this essentially as a merger
Your call.
to take both of those productions of titanium rods into that launcher.
factory is up and running, and those valuable resources are rolling out. Let's
Gorgeous.
go to the other player who's expanding the lower.
Okay, so he jumped a little bit in progress between that point and this point that we're just at. Essentially, the assumption is the amount of resources that he just sent up was enough to unlock the helium-3 generator. And we're going to get to that shortly. But they're going to show how the base core works here.
Each base starts with a base core. It's the base's heart and a necessary cooling system.
Now, he just said necessary cooling system. I think that has a lot to do with the StarRupture itself, where it protects the base cores protect from that heat. Now, what he just said was the rupture a star. So I should be using that term more. I haven't been. But what he said was every time the rupture a star kabooms, it sends down these meteors. And you gather them so you can build more base cores. It requires one of these meteor hearts to build a base core. And you're going to see him take them apart here. I love the effect, by the way, of actually going through and taking apart these meteorites. They did kind of look like a skull, by the way, when we were first looking at it. Now, you can see on the right, he's getting wolfram and other resources, and boom, he gets a lot when it fully comes apart. Helium, wolfram, calcium, titanium, and one meteor heart. So in the inventory screen, that was that red and gray icon. So when he opens up the build screen next, we're going to see he has one.
So it's always worth keeping an eye out.
Star tiers, we don't know what that does. Also, you're going to see he actively avoids stepping in these plants. And there's a reason for that. Where is it? There it is. So there is an extra bar and a little bit of red on the bottom of their screen that says drain. So these plants are causing a drain effect of some kind. Curious about that in the future. We're going to see more of the build system now.
You play as a prisoner, working off your sentence by taking contracts for various corporations.
This setup, by the way, the working off your sentence by taking contracts, gives me a very big hard space shipbreaker vibe to it, especially with the different corporations that you can take contracts from. I'm very curious how that system's going to work in the long run, and if there's separate areas for separate corporations, or if you work with one corporation, you can't work with another, things like that. I'm very curious about that.
You're considered an asset.
No, go back.
Contracts for various corporations.
Showed it real fast. There it is. So at the top right, base core, it doesn't require any other resource. It just requires the meteor heart. Allows building of other constructions, protects your base from the heat. So heat is going to be not just an obvious aspect of when the rupture a star goes kablooey, but also possibly from other effects. Also, that fucker is huge. I'm trying not to swear. I also love the look of all the heat sinks along it. Like, this is specifically built to absorb a ton of heat. Like, that's its only purpose, and it's a really nice look. All right, so level 3 unlocked, which means, okay, now they can get the helium thing. They're going into that part of the UI and selecting that. There was a building that just popped up. I didn't catch it. So that gigantic structure only costs 60, I'm going to say like orange credits or what else to actually place. It seems like structures are very, very cheap. Now this we're about to see this is going to be so good. So he's building one platform, and then on the same grid, he's building a far out other platform, and then in the same drone view, building a third platform near the other player. I'm kind of just waiting for it because it's so cool. Seemed easy enough to... There it is. There it is. You can just place smooth, curved platforms just like that. Just like that. That they're perfectly aligned. There's no squiggle to them.
And now the helium extractors are fully operational and will help you advance your technology.
Gorgeous.
Now let's explore what's lurking.
I love exploring. All right, so that's where those structures are where the helium-3 is going into. I have no idea what they're doing.
But before we head out,
I have no idea what they're doing. They never go into it. It's such a tease. I love how it is an actual airlock. Okay, so we're about to see some equipment nonsense, which I love. I will also point out that on the right-hand side here, well, center screen and right-hand side, it looks like a respawn or a spawn box of some kind, and then you have named containers of different size and make on the wall and on the floor, and I love it. So this is an equipment upgrade station he just placed. And oh my god, you can start seeing some of the weapons that are available. Now, on the right-hand side, this is a new resource. And I'm not sure what it's called. I'm going to call it research points. I don't know for the time being. But this is how you unlock equipment and weapons. Now, I'll also point out, outside of weapons, on the left-hand side, there are other categories. What looks like different equipment slots, maybe a melee weapon slot. I don't know. But definitely have... You definitely have, like, options in StarRupture, which I love. Now, for this, you get options when it comes to your weapons, and you can upgrade and customize them. And again, it only costs the research points to unlock and then the orange credits to purchase. Or actually, like, get onto the weapon. I love this. I love this so much. And it does change the look of the weapon.
With the basic item printer placed in your habitat, you'll be able to craft essential tools.
All right, hold on a second. With the basic building material. That's what they're called. Okay. And then this white one is advanced building material. Interesting. So, basic building material used by building tool to set up structures. And it looks like it takes this red mineral of some kind, which I'm going to assume is wolfram, and then that blue stuff we saw earlier, which we know is titanium. Also, pistol ammo, standard ammo, shotgun ammo, heavy ammo. That's a big bullet right there. Shotgun ammo, just a few of the standard building material. I promise I won't call them credits again. All right, so we also have a lot of other things in our inventory, including what looks like food products and those research points or tokens.
Both building and exploration.
That making of the ammo was instant. I don't know if that's going to be true for.
Them for your friends or safeguard valuables just in case. Also, watch your vitals. Hunger.
Okay, that's big. Hunger, thirst, and toxicity.
Might look tasty, but
I shouldn't have eaten that. So you can. No, you can't really see them here.
the planet.
So you can see in the bottom left-hand corner next to the character portrait, you have the shield and health, but then you also have an apple icon, a water icon, and a skull icon. And the person just mentioned that you have to watch your hunger, your thirst, and toxicity. So my guess is that's what those are, and those are your warning indicators for each of them.
Deadly alien race.
Deadly alien race.
Or worse, steal your precious factory.
And there's some deadly aliens. Now, obviously, you're not going to want to normally get up close to the aliens. We also see... No. We also see infection there. There's a good capture of it. We see at the bottom center your bright red bar saying infection. We don't know what that does yet, but clearly standing in the angry blue gas is not a good idea. Now, I think we all know that the person recording this did this on purpose, because normally you're not going to stand in it, but they're trying to show as many features as possible. This is very important because it's showing that there are secondary effects when defeating enemies or killing things, and there are environmental dangers as well, as we saw earlier with that drain effect from the plants, and also the toxicity that came from eating local food stuff. So there may be a cooking system that comes into play with this. Per plants. And then we have a dead body. Oh, we got a dead body. And you can get stuff off the dead body. So exploration and getting stuff there is key. What is that purple thing in the background? I just noticed that. I've watched this trailer like 3 times. I did not see that little purple thing in the background. What is that? I don't know what that is. So the infection is going away now that he hasn't been in the poison. Oh, more of that purple stuff. What is that purple stuff?
With StarRupture's
Are those the mushrooms? It might just be the mushrooms.
constructions and many points
So
all up.
as you could see, the healing there took a while. That's going to be important to remember because consumables aren't just like, boom, done. It takes time.
One such place, the abandoned bases, left behind by earlier.
I'll also point out, as they're approaching the abandoned base here, it is getting brighter and brighter, and the star is getting much more prominent in the sky.
Danger may be closer than you think.
Danger is closer than they think. So you got some kind of blue key card, which then made noise on the body, which then summoned all of these nerds around. But he's got a grenade. The grenade starts pulsing and beeping, and oh god, everything's angry. We also do see multiple kinds of enemies here. There are the regular non-blue pustule enemies that just like run and attack you. The blue pustule enemies that explode into those clouds of deadly gas. There's a lot to pick apart here. The shotgun is it has some kick to it. The green enemies off in the distance. See if we can get them here. That one. So that's what's shooting the green blobules at the other player, and this player is trying to take care of them so they stop shooting at their friend. So that's a third kind of enemy, or fourth kind of enemy, really. A level up combat. Another big thing. stuff levels up. Skills level up. I don't know how that affects the game. But you can't tease me like this, StarRupture. Speaking of StarRupture, so right away here, as it's happening, we can see heat as an effect. So outside of the fact that you're standing in what may probably just be a supernova going on here, you have a heat indicator. This is probably going to be used other places other than just the fact that the star is exploding. But it's especially bad here. And it starts out very gentle, and then suddenly, whoosh. Which kind of goes to show exactly what's going on when it comes to the nova itself. I don't know if it's called a nova. It's certainly not an actual supernova because that destroys planets, and the planet just gets a little singed and you get really singed, but it's a core gameplay mechanic. So it's not like an actual supernova. It does show you though that you need to get into shelter when it happens. And we've seen this in the previous gameplay trailer, the 2-minute-ish long trailer from a couple months ago, where you can get inside shelter to protect yourself from the Raptura star blasting off. But that's everything that's going on with StarRupture and this update. And my God. Oh my God. I need this game. I need this game. I can't wait to see the full gameplay. I will point out something here on this screen. That giant engine or structure in the center, we've seen that before. And also, we do have the heat of like lava flows and whatnot on the left, and we have these ice flows on the right. We do have a couple other creatures visible here, including the big tanky dude on the right. There is so much going on with StarRupture, and I need it in my life. So I'll echo what the trailer said. Get out there, wish list the dang thing. Give them some love. I'm so excited for this. And certainly when it does come out, or when I do get access to it, we're going to be showing it both here on YouTube and live on Twitch. I will get back to streaming for this game. That's StarRupture. That's what we're looking forward to. I cannot wait for this game. And I will see you all here in the near future. As always, please, everyone, stay efficient.